Hey, what's up? My name is Daniela and welcome to a new vlog. So today it's Saturday the 18th of November and we are having a long weekend because yesterday we celebrated the end of the communist regime in 1989. Yay! So as the title suggests, this vlog is very ambitious and it's becoming more ambitious every day as the end of the year is approaching, because I would like to reach TBR 0 by the end of the year. It would be more realistic if I also wasn't planning on reading like some extra books that currently are on my TBR. So yeah, there are several things happening. So Nonfiction November is happening, which is a readathon hosted by a book Olive, and it's all about reading more nonfiction than you would normally read. And I have a few nonfiction books on my TBR that I have been putting off for the longest time, and so I'm kind of low-key participating. I haven't like linked the books to the prompt, so I might just do it retrospectively because I want to do like a separate Nonfiction November wrap-up. So in this vlog I will be talking about the fiction books I read. So yeah, apart from the nonfiction books, I have a couple of fiction books on my TBR. And then also, obviously, I want to read some Christmas books, which I don't own, so those will probably be ebooks. So currently, there are 6 books on my physical TBR. So we have 2 nonfiction, 2 sci-fis, 1 contemporary, and 1 historical romance. Then also 1 book I have ordered and I have to pick up, but it's a manga, so that should be really quick. And otherwise I should really, you know, try to restrict myself from actually buying more books, because that would make it even harder. But then also I'm currently reading a library book, so that's not on my TBR, you know, on my physical TBR, but it was really highly anticipated by me. Like, I really wanted to read it and everyone has been loving it, so yeah, I really wanted to hop on the train. So I put a hold and it came through, so I was like, well, we will have to just squeeze it in. And it is Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. So I started reading this yesterday. I'm currently on page 27, and in case you don't know, this is I really love how it says here, high fantasy, low stakes, good company. So yeah, it is in a high fantasy world and we follow an orc named Vivi, and she used to do a lot of quests and adventures and like killing beasts, all of that, and now she got a bit tired of that and she's starting a new life. So she moved into this new town and basically she wants to open a cafe shop, but in this world, or like specifically in this part of the world, people don't know what coffee is. So she just moved in, she found a place, and it has this really amazing like entrepreneurial spirit. Like, she's starting a small business, she's building it from scratch, and she will have to convince the market, like she will have to like educate the market about what coffee is and how amazing coffee shops are. I absolutely adore coffee shops. So yeah, I've been really enjoying this book. I already love Viv as a character, I really love the small business spirit, we're meeting some more characters, the world is interesting. So yeah, I think this will be right up my alley. So I will be focusing on this at first, although it doesn't contribute to the challenge. So I'm also going to start a nonfiction book to switch it up and to actually work on the challenge. So I think I'm going to start this book, which is called We've Always Been Here by Philip Titelbach, and it's a Czech book with interviews with queer people in the Czech Republic. So there are like interviews and photos, so it should be pretty quick to read. I have owned this, I think I got it like for Christmas last year, so obviously I really need the Nonfiction November push to actually get to some nonfiction books, but yeah, I'm really excited to read this. But yeah, I decided to do this 0 TBR challenge because this year I've been reading like so many books off of my TBR, and then like somewhere at the end of the summer or the beginning of autumn I was thinking, well, the TBR pile is getting smaller, so it's kind of more or less realistic to completely clear it out. And yeah, the idea just seemed more and more enticing to just clear my whole TBR. There are many books that I'm excited about right now, but these books were kind of at the back of my mind, or like more like I keep staring at them because like they're displayed on my bookshelf. So yeah, I would really like to start with a clean slate from January and just get some new books without the old books just staring at me. And yeah, this is only about physical TBR. Like, I have books in my Kindle, but we're not talking about that right now. That might be another challenge. Update time. So I was waiting for the dryer to shut up and it was taking forever, and I've been trying to figure out like what the best angle is with, you know, artificial lighting, and all of them seem bad. But anyway, so this weekend has been really successful reading wise. So yesterday I started and finished We've Always Been Here. I really enjoyed it. As I said, I will be talking about the non-fiction books in the separate wrap-up. But yeah, I read it within like 3 or 4 hours. Obviously it was very readable. Could have read it much sooner, but it's better to do things now than never. So that brings my TBR down to 5. Then I made it to page 159 in Legends and Lattes, and I'm still very much enjoying it. I'm loving all of the characters. It's a very slow-moving plot. I mean, there isn't much of a plot. It's more character focused and, you know, the small business focused, and yeah, it's really magical. There are some sinister things lurking, but yeah, having a great and cozy time with this one. And then I started and got to page 77 in this, and this is another non-fiction book. It's glaring, but it is daring greatly. How the Courage to be Vulnerable Transforms the Way We Live, Love, Parent and Lead by Brené Brown. So I have previously read another book by Brené Brown. I really enjoyed it. It was Rising Strong. And then I think last year I got this one, and I even started it, I think like at the beginning of this year maybe, and I only got to like page 20 or something, and then I put it aside. So now I'm returning to it. I started from the beginning again, and now I got further like within one sitting. So yeah, it's working out better. Yeah, this book is all about vulnerability and shame and how they interact, and yeah, I think it will be quite helpful to me at the current time. I don't really see myself like marathoning this, but it is the last non-fiction book as of now on my TBR, so I think I will be reading this like throughout the rest of November, while also reading the other fiction books. And yeah, today is Sunday. It is after 6 p.m. and today I did my pretty usual Sunday things, which is going to a cafe, and then I also went to that secondhand bookstore that I basically go to in every single vlog in the recent months, and they changed it quite a lot. So it used to be just a pickup place for the online bookstore, and now they basically transformed it to a full-fledged bookstore, secondhand bookstore. So that's really nice. I had a look at the things, but yeah, luckily like there was only like a very small English section, and so I wasn't tempted too much. But yeah, I was there to pick up my orders, and I ordered Death Note Volume 2. This is by Tsugumi Ohba and by Takeshi Bata. And yeah, a few weeks ago I read Volume 1 and I loved it, and I really wanted to continue soon. And so when I saw this book there, and it isn't really such a good deal for a second-hand book, but it's still a bit cheaper than from a normal store, and also like I was able to pay it from credit, so that's better. But yeah, in case you don't know, this is manga about a high school student, and one day he finds a notebook and he finds out that if you write someone's name in the notebook, he or they will die. And the notebook was like dropped on purpose by a god character who just dropped the notebook to have fun. Or was it an accident? I'm not sure. Maybe it was an accident and now they're having like a lot of fun with it. So yeah, the god is also a character in the book, and basically the student starts using the notebook, and you know, there is a whole crew of all kinds of people who are trying to catch him. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. So yeah, for now I own the first 2 volumes in these individual volumes edition, and going forward I'm thinking about whether to continue collecting these individual editions or whether to get the black editions that always combine 2 volumes. It would be cheaper, but I haven't really like seen the black ones anywhere physically, so I'm not sure if I want them. Like, I'm not sure if they are better or if I prefer them visually. So yeah, undecided about that one. But yeah, I just had to, even though like I'm doing TBR 0, I just had to get this, and you know, it will be a very quick read. But yeah, this brings up my TBR to 6. And then also I had another book ordered, and that was The Wedding Day by Jasmine Guillory. So luckily this doesn't count towards my TBR because I have already read this. And yeah, this weekend has been really nice. I stayed at home most of the time, except for like a small walk on Friday, and obviously I spent the afternoon out today. But the 3-day weekend makes such a difference. It's ridiculous, and it was kind of eye-opening, and also like put things into perspective, because I've been struggling with some things, like with not being happy with some aspects of my life, and sometimes like one can feel quite like boxed into a situation, and it's hard to try to change things. Like, change is hard on itself, but also like if you have to like actively work towards it and you're not sure it's going to work out, that's even more scary. But yeah, these last few days I'm just realizing that even though being scared of things is valid, I really can't let it hold me back so much. And you know, the price, meaning like being unhappy with some aspects of your life, or like feeling stuck in a situation and yeah, not being happy with it, like the price of that is too high. So yeah, I just really have to do something about some things. But yeah, therapy session over. I'm really glad I got so much reading done during the weekend, because during the week I won't necessarily have that much time and brain space for reading. But yeah, I still hope I will make a decent progress. Everything's so bright. Turn off your phone and off your mind. Look at you so bright. 멈출 수 없어 지금이야. Oh, I'll take you to the moon. So it's the next Sunday and it's time for a reading update. So I think that last weekend or on Monday, somewhere around there, I finished Legends and Lattes, and it's going to be 5 stars. Yes, I adored it right from the beginning. I knew I was going to adore it, and I did. So yeah, I really enjoyed the cozy fantasy genre. Obviously, as I said, I adored the cafe element and building your own business and just building your crew, which was fun, because with, you know, previously was like had her own crew and they did the quests, and then she started to form a completely different crew around her business, and you know, they really became her found family, so that trope is definitely very prominent in the story. I also really like the sapphic slow burn romance that was included, and that was really heartwarming. There was a bit of action and drama in the actual story, and then we got like a bonus chapter and we followed Viv and her previous crew to do like a part of the quest, so that was also fun to see. And yeah, I don't have my library copy on me anymore because I immediately like gave it to a friend to read, like, you need to read this. And yeah, I've been recommending it left and right because it's just such a wonderful, cozy, heartwarming story. And yeah, looking forward to reading book 2. So because it was a library book, it didn't change my TBR count, but then last night I stayed up really late for me till like 1 AM and I finished another book which I started a few days ago, and that was The Perks of Loving a Wallflower by Erica Ridley. So this is book 2 in the Wild Winchesters series, and before I started this video I read book 1 as an ebook. I didn't have to because like the series is pretty loose, but I really like to start at the beginning of the series even though you don't have to read the previous books. So yeah, I read book 1, and this is my first ever historical romance series that I'm reading, and it just brought like many findings. So previously I was pretty standoffish like against historical romances. I thought that that's not for me, I wouldn't enjoy that. And now thinking about it and also like hearing some discussions, you know, in the book community space, I'm realizing that I probably had some biases and prejudices partially rooted in internalized misogyny, and I don't know, just some kind of elitism or snobbishness that I picked up, like, you know, in high school and when I was studying literature and stuff like that, which is all the more ridiculous because I love contemporary romance and I have for several years. So I think what also played a role is that I think about myself that I don't enjoy historical fiction in general, and then again I think that I mostly think that because most of the historical fiction I have read just deals with some traumatizing event, and obviously I knew that historical romances weren't like heavy reading but I don't know, somehow I just thought that historical romance wasn't for me, and I don't think that I'm going to start like reading a ton of it. And I was thinking that if I want to try a historical romance, the diverse wrap is just an added plus obviously the cover is stunning, which I will talk about in a bit also. But yeah, I'm really glad that this series exists. I don't think it's the only historical romance series that has diverse wrap, but you know, this one is talked about a lot, so it was brought to my attention. And now I'm reading my first ever historical romance series and I'm enjoying myself a lot. So if you've never read a historical romance, for me the experience is like reading Jane Austen, which I love, and the pace is much quicker and maybe there are like some more adventurous elements which are specifically in this series, and then they actually bang. So I don't know why I didn't connect the dots earlier because I love Jane Austen and I love steamy romance books, so but yeah, here we are. Let's talk about the first book briefly. So in the first book we are introduced to this family of Winchester siblings, and some of them met in an orphanage and then a rich guy kind of adopted them. So now they all live in this huge house, and the guy died like a year ago and the siblings kind of aren't accepted to the polite society because, you know, they aren't highborn or anything, and they kind of do what they want. Like they do some heists to like help less fortunate people or people that are experiencing some injustice. And in the first book we follow Chloe, and every sibling has like some special talent, and one of her talents is that she can like blend into any circle, and she's good at being like unremarkable and like dressing really plainly and just like blending in, and then she can kind of infiltrate several groups because no one really remembers her. And during this heist, Chloe and the young duke named Lawrence, you know, get to know each other, and at first they don't like each other much, and you know, Lawrence has a lot of prejudices because like the Winchester family is so shunned from the society, and Chloe also thinks that he is like so horrible and rigid and, you know, unfeeling. But obviously not everything is as it seems. So yeah, I actually really loved the first book. I really loved Chloe, I loved Lawrence, and their budding relationship was really fun to watch. I enjoyed the heist element, and then like there were the steamy bits, like even like when they were just like, there were like kissing scenes. It was like a shock to the system because like I was only used to like reading Jane Austen from this period, and obviously like there's nothing like that in Jane Austen, so it was like, oh, we're going there. And then the steamy scenes were like hot. And I also love Winchesters and the found family that they built and all the quirks of the siblings. Yeah, it's just really heartwarming to read. I find that it's really hard for me to talk about this series because obviously it's like a whole new genre for me, and I have like a lot of thoughts and feelings. And on one hand I'm like, well, this is clearly one of the best historical romance series up there, and like the numbers, like the reviews kind of confirm that, but also it's kind of ridiculous to claim after only reading one, right? But yeah, for me this series kind of catapulted itself among my top favorite romance series, so that's really something. But yeah, in this book we follow Philippa, and she's really like under her parents' influence. Like her mother is kind of a more vicious version of Mrs. Bennet, and like her only aim is to just marry Philippa off, you know, to a titled man, because they have the money but they don't have a title. So like they're really pushing her onto like some titled guys. And then like Philippa is 23 and her mom is like, you can't buy any new books and like your book club cannot meet. And yeah, it's kind of, it was really hard to watch. So Philippa is kind of thinking like, well, it doesn't matter what I want, like I have to fulfill this family obligation. And then we have Tommy, and Tommy has had a crush on Philippa for some time, but she's really scared to talk to her, and like since the family is not like well respected, she doesn't have like many opportunities to talk to her as herself. So she dresses as like the heir to the family, who doesn't exist but people think that he does, and she starts courting Philippa disguised as this man. And then it's like Philippa's family doesn't want Philippa to marry this imaginary man, and also like Tommy doesn't want to have to pretend that she's this man. And basically going into this series I thought that like I would love this one, and I wasn't sure about the first one, but now I'm thinking about it, like I kind of enjoyed them like at least equally, because the first one really started with the bang. Well, not literally, they only banged later, but it started with like this action sequences and really like ridiculous fun situations, whereas this one started kind of slowly. And also with the characters, like yeah, I love Philippa and I love Tommy, but in the first book I felt like maybe I enjoyed the characters more and maybe they felt more developed. So about Tommy. So Tommy was assigned female at birth and she uses she/her pronouns, but she talks about her gender in the way that like she kind of feels like neither or both, so she's kind of genderqueer. And then she prefers like men's clothing, and she has short hair, which the cover doesn't reflect, but yeah, she prefers to be masculine presenting. And Philippa is supposed to be plus size or like have big curves, which also the cover doesn't match. And as I was reading this book, I was really struggling with how I would describe the characters, like how I should talk about them, which words or labels to use. And I think that the book didn't do anything wrong, but maybe the, well, at least the cover and also the way people talk about it is like a little bit misleading, because people often talk about this book as a female-female romance, and it's pretty clear that Tommy is non-binary, genderqueer. So yes, it would be more accurate to say that it's a non-binary female romance. I don't know how far the term sapphic stretches, so I don't really want to make any claims on that. And also when I was reading it, it was kind of described as Philippa, well, she was talking about how she never like had any feelings or like never felt like attraction to anybody, so at some points she felt like she's this like cold-hearted person, and maybe she was broken, and then like she starts to be attracted to Tommy once they get to know each other a bit. So that very much sounded like she might be demisexual, which not surprisingly is not something that people would always talk about. So then I read some Goodreads reviews, and yeah, several people also said that they think that Philippa is demisexual. So just putting it out there as as a rep that people don't often talk about. And yeah, on Goodreads I found a review by Alexis Hall, and he was talking about the gender aspects, like how the cover doesn't match, and there is quite an interesting discussion below his review. So yeah, basically I would say it's a queer romance. Maybe sapphic is fine, but probably not female-female. And yeah, while I adored the cover and I think it's beautiful, sadly it doesn't represent the characters, and it's a shame. And yeah, as I was talking about how much I enjoyed the characters in the first one, in this one I felt like Tommy spent most of the book basically in a character, like playing someone else. So I felt like we didn't get to really know her that much as I wanted. I loved Philippa's character development in this one because she was so deep under the influence of her parents, but you know, she was also trying to be like as independent as she could, and she was really into books, and she's so well read and sophisticated. And yeah, she runs this weekly book club with all her other smart friends, female friends, and like she's involved into charity, and during the book she really found her strength. And yeah, obviously she also discovered like, or like explored parts of her identity. So yeah, that was really lovely to see. I have to say that in both of the books, like the partners that weren't part of the Winchester family, it was kind of similar, like they grappled with like maybe losing like some of the social status and just being afraid to take the step. And I felt that in both of the books, like it went on for a bit too long, or like it went I mean, obviously I know that in that time like it was a big deal, and like marriage was a big deal, like, you know, socially, financially, as it is now, but much more back then, you know. But still, like it got like a tiny bit frustrating. And also the thing is that the heist element in this book was about like some set of manuscripts, and then there was like a cipher and like a secret message, and I have to say like I got a bit confused. And I also like looked up the reviews, and I wasn't the only one. But yeah, I got a bit lost in that, and I wasn't that invested in it, like even though it was about books, so that felt like a shame. As of now, I'm really not sure about my ratings, because I guess like emotionally and like impact wise they could be 5 stars, but then also the books objectively are imperfect. But so for now it's somewhere between 4 and 5. I might give it 5 just for the enjoyment and the impact, and they definitely seem like books that I would reread. And there are also more books in the series coming out about some of the other siblings. So yeah, I definitely want to read them. So all in all, I'm so happy that I finally picked up the series, that I put aside my biases towards historic romance, and yeah, I had a great time. Finishing this book put my TBR at 5, which is great, but honestly it feels like way too high for this time in the year, because December is quickly approaching and I would like to have most of the month for the Christmas romances. So yeah, I should really speed it up. I'm on page 122 in Daring Greatly, still enjoying this. But yeah, we're going into a new work week. Winter is wintering and it's tough, but yeah, hopefully I will have an update for you soon. Oh, also a tiny vague life update. So I did something very exciting for myself. Well, not yet, it is planned for early 2024. You might know what it is already if we talked. If not, feel free to ask in DMs. But yeah, something I'm really nervous about, but also I'm really excited. And yeah, I just feel that this time of year, when everything is kind of bleak and hard, it's really important to like make some nice plans, or just do like at least a little bit, because like at first I kind of wanted to abandon every effort till Christmas, and it will be definitely valid. Like if that's you, like more power to you. I think that's also a really smart strategy, to just like rest as much as you can like during this time of year, especially if it's difficult for you. But yeah, I'm kind of studying most days. I tried to study like a little bit on most days, something that might help me to improve my situation. So yeah, that's what's been happening. Like mostly I'm really looking forward to the Christmas break. I can't wait. To be honest, like this challenge is like quite a welcomed distraction, because at least I have something tangible to focus on. And yeah, just slowly crawling to that end of the year. I just finished Death Note Volume 2, so that's 4 for my TBR. Still very much enjoying the series, although the characters were being annoyingly misogynistic. And I figured I would jump right into the most intimidating book on my TBR now, which is The Three-Body Problem by Cixin Liu. So this is an adult sci-fi book. I don't know much about it, but the day I bought it, I learned that the author is quite problematic, like kind of endorsing some racial violence, so that's not good. But I decided that I'm still going to give it a try and just keep it in mind. And yeah, I don't even know if I'm going to finish it. I just want to try it because it's kind of a classic. A lot of people have been recommending it and I have already bought it. So yeah, I'm going to give it a chance. But I don't exactly have high expectations of it. Hello, so today is Thursday the 7th of December, and unfortunately I kind of failed at giving more regular updates, but fortunately I didn't fail at finishing more books, at least. So I did finish The Three-Body Problem, which I wasn't sure I would, but yeah, basically I didn't know much about it, almost nothing. I just knew that it's a really popular and often recommended sci-fi, and obviously it takes place in China, but other than that I didn't know much. So basically the Cultural Revolution in China played a big role in this, and basically the beginning was more like historical fiction than sci-fi. The sci-fi kind of only kicked in later. So when I started reading, and it literally started with like one of the main characters' father being beaten to death, and just a lot of traumatic things happening, which, as I mentioned earlier, isn't something I like to read about. So yeah, I almost DNF'd at that point, but yeah, I persevered, and yeah, slowly the sci-fi kicked in, and then I have to admit it got quite interesting. So yeah, I would call this hardcore sci-fi with a lot of like really out there, kind of ridiculous, but not in a bad way, concepts and just bananas things happening. I won't say any spoilers, but if you read it you will know what I mean. But just the things like the dehydration or like the proton thing near the end, that was quite something. And there's also an online game element in this, so we spent part of the time in an online game. There are kind of two main characters and two main timelines. So in the first one we follow the girl whose father was murdered, and that mostly takes place in the past, how she worked at this like secret facility. She was a astrophysicist, I think. And then the second part is more current timeline, where we follow another scientist, and he just starts noticing some really weird things happening, and then he's kind of recruited to infiltrate this secretive organization to find out what's happening. And yeah, I'm not mad, I read it. I want to continue with the series. I found it, as I said, quite fascinating, but on the other hand it also got quite tedious at times. So yeah, maybe I didn't like the pacing that much, and also like the female main character I didn't really connect to, and the guy was okay, but yeah, the characters weren't really ones I would connect with. And then also we have the fact that, as I mentioned, the author is quite problematic, and then there was the afterword by him, and it was just kind of boastful, like, oh, I have this amazing imagination and blah blah blah. And yeah, that definitely like didn't improve my opinion. So yeah, now I know what the book is about, which I'm glad about, but yeah, I won't continue with the series, and I will probably unhold this one pretty soon. Rating wise, it will be probably a 4. It was good, but I didn't absolutely love it. And finishing this brought my TBR down to 3. Then I also finished Daring Greatly by Brené Brown. So I did enjoy this, or maybe more like there were some thought-provoking moments, but the reading experience was a bit dry. So yeah, maybe the audiobook would have been better. And that brought my TBR down to 2. And then it was time to do the Christmas one, which is 12 Days of Dash and Lily by Rachel Cohn and David Levitan. But first, since this is a sequel, I really wanted to reread the first book. So the first book is called Dash and Lily's Book of Dares, and it is a young adult contemporary that takes place during Christmas, and we have dual perspective, Dash and Lily. And it starts with Dash finding this notebook at the Strand in New York, and there are kind of riddles and clues that lead him to, you know, more clues. And yeah, he finds out that a girl named Lily left the notebook there for someone to find, and yeah, they kind of start corresponding through the notebook. And yeah, Lily kind of recruits her relatives who work around New York. And yeah, I read it a few years ago and I really liked it. At that time I gave it 4 stars, but this year after rereading it I bumped it up to 5 stars because I realized that it is one of my favorite Christmas books and probably one of my favorite young adult books in general. And I just really love the characters, both Dash and Lily. They are like wonderful opposites of each other. Like Dash at the beginning hates Christmas and he's kind of grumpy and everyone calls him like he's snarly. And then Lily is this like ray of sunshine and she adores Christmas and everything relating to Christmas. And yeah, I really like their chemistry. So a lot of the characters are kind of quirky, and yeah, it's really fun to read about them. The main characters are kind of pretentious, kind of in a John Green way, but I would say in a more fun way. Like, But yeah, it was in a way that I really enjoyed. And yeah, the Christmas vibes and the New York City vibes are just immaculate. They get into a lot of ridiculous fun situations, and yeah, this is the perfect Christmas book for me. And yeah, I knew when I first read it that it is definitely rereadable, and now it was confirmed. So yeah, read that, bumped it up to 5 stars, and obviously that didn't change my TBR count because it was a reread. But then I was ready to read the sequel. So this book takes place the next Christmas, and the book basically starts with just their relationship crisis. So Lily has been really busy because her grandfather has been sick and she's been doing a million things, and yeah, her and Dash kind of lost the spark and their relationship is struggling and Lily is struggling. So at the beginning and for a portion of the book it's kind of sad and bleak, and then yeah, it's Christmas is coming, so they kind of try to turn it around. So I would say that objectively speaking, this book is actually quite bad on several levels. So the plot and the pacing, some of the dialogues didn't really work, didn't really flow naturally. But I guess I'm officially a big fan of the series because in the end I guess I didn't really mind that much. There were again some ridiculous fun situations that the characters got into, and there were some interesting conversations, I guess. So yeah, I still got something from it, and mostly yeah, I was just spending more time in this world with the characters, and I enjoyed it. So I guess in the end this might be like a 4-star, even though like objectively it isn't that good. And if you're just like a casual fan and you kind of like book 1 but I'm not sure whether or not to continue, then I would not recommend continuing. But this puts my TBR at 1, which is very exciting. The finish line is finally here. And yeah, the book that's remaining is Warcross by Mary Lou, which is a young adult sci-fi. I don't know much about it, so I will talk about it more once I start. But yeah, I'm quite excited to get this finished. For a live update, I went to see Hosier last night and it was amazing. So I only started listening to him this year. I mean, obviously I realized that I knew Take Me to Church, but otherwise I wasn't much aware of his existence. I had 2 main thoughts during the concert. The first one was, how can I see him next in 2024? And he will mainly be touring the US, but there are a couple of European dates, so we will see. And the other thought was that I was just so grateful to be there and to be able to enjoy it, because in the last few months I just had recurring symptoms like getting sick really often. It will sound cheesy, but it was totally something that my soul needed to just, yeah, to experience something amazing, and just a reminder that yeah, life has some amazing things. I guess I've been to like 4 concerts this year. I had to cancel some, and all of them kind of had a deeper meaning for me and meant something special. So like when I saw Avril and heard like Skater Boy live, that was everything that my 12-year-old self wanted. And yeah, seeing Hosier last night, it was everything my current self wanted. So yeah, I'm just really happy about that, and yeah, I really want to see him again. And I had today off. I used my last day off of this year to have after the concert to just chill and recover. But yeah, this vlog is turning into mostly me rambling, so I will update you when I read some of Warcross. Everything's so bright. Turn off your phone and off your mind. Look at you so bright. It's the 14th of December, 10:30 p.m. and I just finished my fucking physical TBR. Bye. So it's the next day And yeah, last night I finished Warcross and thus I finished my Zero TBR challenge. So let's talk about Warcross first and then I will wrap up the vlog with my overall feelings and thoughts about the challenge. So this book took me much longer than I expected and there are several reasons to it. One of them is the Hosier obsession and the fact that I've been spending a lot of my free time consuming content about him, but also partially it's the book. So in this young adult sci-fi we follow our main character named Emika Chen, is it? Yeah. And she's 18, she's on her own. Her parents aren't in the picture because her mom had left and her father had died, and now she's living with a roommate and she's broke and she's facing eviction very soon. And fortunately she has some skills, and in this world it is like a slightly more advanced world, and there is this virtual reality game that is like you can do almost anything in there, and Emika is a hacker and she's been able to hack into the game and sometimes earn some money like hunting for criminals. And yeah, now she's really broke and she's desperate, and there's this big championship in Warcross, which is the virtual game happening, and she tries a trick to kind of get some money during the game, and she glitches into the game by accident, which means that like everyone who is watching the game can see her, and then like she thinks that she will be arrested, but the owner of the company that produces the game, Hideo, contacts her and he basically wants her to fly to Tokyo, and yeah, he offers her a job because like somebody is kind of trying to sabotage the game or something. And yeah, so she's supposed to work undercover, she's supposed to enter the game as a player for the championship, and yeah, find out the person. So yeah, this book wasn't holding my attention that much. I wanted to DNF it multiple times, but yeah, I decided against it, partially because it was the last book on my TBR, so I just wanted to finish it. And also there were some elements that were intriguing to me, like the hacking or coding element, although it was all in very abstract terms. Yeah, as a kid or like growing up, I used to play a lot of games of that age, but yeah, starting like college or now as an adult, I don't game anymore, so that aspect wasn't as intriguing to me. Thought that the writing wasn't that amazing. There were some instances that it took me out of the story because things either didn't make much sense, didn't sound that natural, or there was a lot of repetitions. I didn't love Emika as the main character, like she was fine, but yeah, maybe partially it's me and just not being excited about young adult sci-fi. This came out in 2017, so it's a bit older, but yeah, I didn't even read that many series like this one, but it's like this young girl is totally desperate, and then this incredibly rich guy steps in and saves the day. And then there's kind of a romance with questionable dynamics between them. I have to say that the ending or the reveals near the end were quite intriguing, and I know there's at least one volume as a sequel in the series, but yeah, I don't know if I'm going to read it. I'm quite intrigued, so if I don't end up reading it, I will probably just, you know, find out what happens. So in the end, this will probably be a 3-star, but nonetheless, it has been on my virtual TBR for a very long time. You know, I've been probably intrigued about it since it came out in 2017. It's been on my physical TBR only for a little time, but yeah, I'm not that sorry that I read it. So yeah, now for my final thoughts about the challenge. So yeah, both the last book and the whole challenge, or like the last leg of the journey that I've been vlogging, took quite longer than I expected. Now it's the 15th of December, so I don't have that much time for my adult Christmas books that I want to read. You know, there's still time, but yeah, it took longer. But I'm still really glad I did it, because the feeling of just completely clearing all of the TBR and starting from fresh, yeah, there is just something really nice about it. It's been quite challenging because I'm a mood reader girly, so I don't often have a TBR, like only for readathons sometimes, and lately I haven't been participating in many readathons. So I think the more we were approaching the end and there was less choice, the harder it was. But yeah, I'm glad I persevered and now I'm just free to, you know, be excited about getting new books. So what's next is that, well, I know that I'm getting books for Christmas, and also I might buy some books for myself in December. So yeah, I'm excited to get some new books or to borrow them from the library. But yeah, I want to get some books that I'm the most excited about in this moment, you know, and not having books that have been sitting on my TBR for however many months. So yeah, I think that's a wrap. This vlog took me on a journey, like some transformation and like stuff were happening in my life during this period. And yeah, thank you for going on this journey with me if you watched till here. And yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. So do you like to have a huge TBR, or do you like to have a smaller TBR? Have you ever tried a challenge like this? I hope you enjoyed seeing my journey. Like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!